do you feel like as you are right now, the talent that you have, since it is your goal, I'd like to ask, do you feel like you can take on UFC guys now? You feel like where we are right
Oh,
now, you get in there, you're
definitely,
good?
definitely, 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 definitely. Not praising about myself, but sometimes I look at the fights at the especially in my weight division, guys with kind of same amount of fights. I go like, man, I can do good against those guys. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes. Miguel Jacob, fresh off of victory, right, against Ryan Leininger, LFA 156, I believe, right? I want to get your
yes,
thoughts on that fight, man. It was a very impressive performance, maybe a couple other stuff, but yeah, man, first and foremost, how's it going today?
everything's pretty good. Just came back from the gym right now. I'm already back training, and everything's well. You know, coming off a victory, it couldn't be better. You know.
Yeah, yeah, you training again, right? When did you start training again after the fight? Did you want to take a couple weeks off? Did you jump right back in? Well, how did that go?
No, I went right back to the gym. I didn't take any big damage on the fight. You know, of course, was sore after, just but nothing crazy. So Monday I was at the gym. I fought Friday. Monday I was already back at the gym. Of course, not as hard as I was doing for the preparation for the fight. And then I took a couple of days off, and I'm just training here and there. But I kind of like didn't stop. My weight didn't go up too much as well because it didn't take a longer like too long of a break. And yeah, I was right back at it, you know, and I'm still training, you know, looking for another one.
Absolutely. And, again, I said we were going to talk about the fight. And, part of the reason I wanted to talk about it, your performance, I thought was really good. A lot of things interest me about the performance, the fight, how it all went. And I wanted to pick your brain on it, and I want to just jump right into it. Right. Obviously, you told everyone that, you wanted them to see a different fighter, right? You wanted to show a different fighter rather. Right. Do you feel like you showed that in the last fight with a performance like that? Or are you like a very harsh, judgmental person? Because I feel like you did show that.
Yeah, the thing that was getting me at most was because my other two LFA fights they were at 155. They were both at 155, and the first of them I was coming back from a 1 year layoff and knee surgery, right? My ACL surgery. So both of them, I was like the first one, I was winning the fight until the last 2 minutes. I got caught like a crazy crucifix, and the referee stopped the fight. I was too
Yeah.
bit over there, but I was winning the fight. And then the second one, everybody think I won. I think I won, and the judges gave it a split decision to the local guy. So even though they were good fights, I feel like I wasn't able to perform at my best at the LFA cage. So after that, I made a lot of changes. I changed the weight class. So I just wanted to show, like on my other fights, everywhere else I fought, it was kind of like my last fight LFA. I just like I was able to put my. I feel like I was able to perform close to who I am at the gym, and you know what I mean, close to my potential. So that was the thing. I was happy about it. A lot of people say, "Man, I never see you like that." But in the back of my head, I was like, "Man, I've been like that for years." I was just, just every time I was coming here at LFA, something was happening. That the
Right.
magic was
LFA, the
happening.
bigger stage, right? You haven't been able
Yeah,
to
so
show it
LFA,
yet.
like yeah, like I fought other shows here. Like I fought for Bellator already. I
Sure.
fought for Saber here. I fought some local shows here, and all of them I almost didn't lose a single round. And LFA, everything was at the last second. Everything was like changing everything at the fight. So
Yeah.
that was the thing I was very happy about. I feel like this time I was able to show off a little bit, like my skills, you know, and hats off to my opponent as well because it was a great fight and the or styles match. So I think it was good for me as well. He did pretty good. So yeah, it was it. I was happy. I was happy. I was able to perform close to my full potential.
It was obviously, a last minute sort of replacement, right? I think I heard on commentary the guy say that, it was even a dangerous fight, right? You're taking a new opponent kind of last minute, a lot bigger than you, right? When you do something like that, do you think about that? Do you think about the size difference, or maybe, it was something that you saw in his style that you could have taken advantage of? Like, sort of what was the process of that, man, when you took that fight on late notice?
Yeah, I grew up like fighting, so I dealt through my whole career since I was very young with like taller fighters. So, and I train with a lot of tall guys, so that's something that doesn't scare me. But certainly, that's a concern you have. Like, it always stays in the back of my mind. Like, man, he's big, but nothing there. Like, I lose my sleep about it. You know what I mean? He's big, but the math is simple. If he's taller, he tends to be skinnier. You know what I mean? So if I'm smaller, it tends to be stronger. That's how normally I think it should work. But for some reason, he managed to be taller and stronger. He looked like twice. And I was like, man, how did he manage to do that? You know, I thought he was
Normally
like,
it balances out, right?
yeah, I
This
was
time it
like, yeah, I
didn't.
thought he was be like tall and skinny. But when I saw him walking in the cage, I mean, this guy's like much taller and much stronger. But I was like, nah, now I gotta go. I can't go anywhere from it. So maybe because it was a catch weight too, and maybe because I didn't cut a lot of weight for the fight because I was supposed to fight in a show here in Los Angeles, but the fight got canceled on the week. So my weight was already super low, and then we got the fight in LFA 3 weeks after. So I didn't. My weight didn't go up since then. I just maintained my weight super low for the fight, so I just had to cut like 2 pounds on the day of the weigh-ins for the fight. So if you don't cut a lot of weight, the weight doesn't bounce back. So basically, I was skinny. You know what I mean? Plus the catch weight for him that he asked for, he was the one that asked for 175. I was like, okay, said yes for the 175. And third thing, he's a huge welterweight. You know what I mean? He's at the
Right.
top. So all those three things, I think, it contributes for people to see the size difference, in the cage. But yeah, while I was training, it didn't concern me much because I'm used to that, and I saw a couple stuff on his style that I could use on my favor. You know what I mean? Especially because of the size difference. So I planned my strategy on top of that, and I'm glad it worked. I'm glad it was a good day. It was a good day at work.
Yeah, I'd say it definitely worked. And when you're in there with a guy like that, right? One thing is to, look at the scales and the numbers, and that's all good and well, right? But I'm
Mhm.
not in there, so I don't know how it feels. When you're in there with him, when you're in there with a guy that's got like 20 pounds on you, how does it feel, in the clinches, in the pop in his shots? How was it like?
Honestly, I didn't feel much. You know what I mean? The size. There was a couple times on the fight where I was like, man, he's tall. But I feel like my head movement was on point, and the way it moved, like, it kind of favored me a little bit, like so that size difference wouldn't didn't matter much. And
Right.
while I'm on the fight, I was in the zone, so I didn't think about it much. I was just like, after the fight happened, after everything was done, I kind of stopped and watched the fight. I was like, man, he was actually pretty big. And the only time like I saw him that as soon as I walked in the cage, when he walked in, and when I saw him walk in, I was like, man, he looks big. When the lights shine on him, I was like, man, he looks big. But I was like, okay, never mind. There's no way I can go. There's nowhere I can go.
Too
Like,
late. Yeah.
too late now. We got to bang. I was like, okay, let's do it. And once he starts the fight, we relax. The first punches, the first trades, it happens. I just got in my zone, and once I start the beginning of the fight wasn't very good for me. Like the first couple seconds, I wasn't getting the distance right. I feel like it. And I remember the exactly moment when I found myself on the fight. Like as soon as the beginning, he kind of hit me with a high kick. Like the first 30 seconds, I was like, man, every time, everything I'm trying to do with him, I'm not landing, and everything he's doing, he's landing. It was right at the beginning of the fight, and then after he kind of tried to kick again, I catch the kick, I throw a hook and a cross. Also, he took that cross. I was like, it was like I came back after. I was like, okay, now I start, and that's when I start. That's when I started growing in the fight.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like you were in the zone. We're gonna get into that fight.
Mhm.
Before that, I want to ask you, right? You said that the weight cut was obviously a big deal, right? Now you're at 170, you feel better. You attributed a lot of that to the good performance, but how
Mhm.
much do you attribute to Kings MMA, right? I mean, you just made, you made the move down there not too long ago, right? How long have you been there?
So now, actually, with Kings MMA, I've been for 2 years and a half now. Two years
Okay.
and a half, but it takes a little bit of time for you to adapt and learn. The style, the new concept. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when I moved there was when I did my first LFA fight, but it was too early still for me to be able to put the what I learned there, you know what I mean, the fight. So after 2 years and a half, now I can see how much I changed and how much like Kings MMA contributed to my last performance and contributed to my game. Now I can see like all the time training there, and all that I learned there from Rafael Cordeiro, changing my game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking of Rafael Cordero, right? What's it like? You always get the generic question of like, what's it like working under this guy, right? But I mean, as far as you, how has he made you better as a fighter?
Man, a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. He's been around forever. He's a great coach, and
Yeah.
he's a great person to be around as well. The way he thinks about fighting, the way he approach the whole situation, it's a way that I like a lot because I grew up on martial arts. So I feel like he connects with the way I think. You know what I mean? It's not just business; it's martial arts for me. That's the way I see it. Because I grew up doing that, and I think we think alike a lot in the like in that stuff. So it's amazing. It's a blessing for me. It's a guy that I grew up watching, following all his stuff, all his fighters. So before I start training with him, I was already a fan. So being able to learn from him nowadays, it's an amazing thing. I'm blessed too.
Look, as far as the fight, right? We can get into that now. It was about a month back. When you look at the performance, right? How important was it, to do what you said you wanted to show you were a different fighter? How important was it to show the improvements? Is it because you felt like you weren't fighting to your potential because of the weight cuts in the past and because of other things,
Yes,
maybe? Is
yes,
that why?
yes, yes. It was mostly because of that, and because I had I have two professional losses in my career. They were both LFA.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So I was like, man, and I have a relationship with LFA for a long time. Like I was probably at the
really?
LFA, you know what I mean? Like so
Oh, so you've
I
been you've known them for
yeah,
some time?
yeah, I know that I, I trained at Black House for many years.
Okay.
Black House is the reason that I moved here, and Black House is owned by Ed Soares. That's my manager, and he's
Hmm.
the president of LFA as well. So
I see. Okay.
he's my manager. He also owns the promotion. Of course, when I'm in the promotion, he's not my manager. He's a promoter.
Right.
But I always wanted to. He always gave me the opportunity to be there. So I always wanted to perform good over there, and I feel like I didn't do my best. So it was important for me to put that performance on in that platform. You know what I mean? To just to feel how can I say, it's like one more accomplishment for me. You know what I mean? So I know everybody that works on the promotion. I know the commentary team. I know the guys that build the cage. I helped build
Wow.
the cage like a couple times, and I work at the show a couple times, like helping build the cage and putting stuff down. So I kind of have like a feeling for the whole organization, and like I had friends of mine that were champions that have been there many times, like cornering and helping them. So it was important for me to and LFA is the best platform, for development for fighters, for to develop fighters to show them off for the big leagues. So for me, that was the point. I was like, man, I gotta make a statement here. I gotta prove that my magic worked here too. You know what I mean? So yeah, and I'm very happy that it worked.
I didn't even know that. That's crazy that it even ran that deep. So that, I wasn't even going to ask you the question, but it felt
Yeah.
like, it must have been that much more special, right? To get to, I was just basing it off of the only two losses he has are at LFA. Everywhere else he's won, but you get that plus everything you just said. That had to have been a special win for you. Was that the
Yeah.
best? Was that the most special win of your career? Would you say?
It's hard to pick one.
Okay,
It's one of them. One of them. One
one
of
of
them.
them,
It's hard to
sure.
pick one because I had nowadays I've been fighting MMA for a couple of years, but I grew up doing kickboxing my whole life, and I had a lot of great moments on it as well.
Yeah.
So, and all of them they felt like the best one for me. You know what I mean? But yeah,
The next
this
one's
one
always
is
the
more
most
crisp.
important.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like this. This one is fresh, so I'm kind of still happy about it. But I had a
Yeah.
lot of good moments in my fighting career as well, so it's hard to pick one.
Definitely. And you talked about, LFA being like a good breeding ground for, to move on maybe to that next level, right? As far as
Yes.
next levels, what kind of dreams do you have for your career? You trying to make it into, these big top promotions?
My dream is, man, be a UFC champ, and I've been working for that dream. I've been dreaming that since I was very young. I based my whole life. I made life choices on top of that. I'm talking about I left Brazil when I was 18, 19, left my whole family over there, moved over here by myself, went through everything you could go through, to be here nowadays, just based on that dream, and so it's like a life mission, and a dream I have it. So that's my goal, and that's what I want to be, and I'm being very specific. It's UFC and it's the belt, both of them. Might seem too like, oh, far away nowadays, but that's my dream. That's my goal one day.
Hey, listen, man, you're one of the top guys. It seems like now you're rising up now at LFA. So I don't know. That doesn't seem crazy to me. You brought up two things. You brought up age and you brought up UFC. So I'd like to frame the next question. Um, you know, in terms of the UFC, I used to watch the Jorge Masvidal things on his YouTube channel when he was a young kid, and his manager used to meet with him, and he used to smell like alcohol from the night before. And she's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Are you training?" You're a young guy, man, right? I'm not saying that's you, but
Yeah, no, no.
I'm wondering, right? Like, is it hard at your age? You're 26, right?
26, 26.
I'm 25. I may not look like it, but I'm only 25. And it can be hard at our age, right? Sometimes to stay focused. Like, we're still young guys, right? You want to
Yeah,
work hard, but you also want to enjoy your life because we only have one of them, right?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
there like a balance you try to keep? Is it, like what's that like for you? Do you go out a
yeah.
lot? Do
My
you
whole my whole life, was in the sport. I started training, like I already told you, very young. So I was never like more. I was never like a big party guy or big drinker, all of that. And I'm also Christian, so that I think that kind of helps me a little bit with it.
yeah,
I'm 26 now. I'm married. I have a kid, so that also gives me a little bit like more help to
sure.
balance my life on top of that. But yeah, yeah, I started out very young, so a lot of people say, "Man, you still have a lot of time. You're gonna be great. You have a lot of time ahead of you. When you become that age, you're gonna be." But I have a lot of time still, but I don't have time to waste. So it's kind of like you have both sides of the story, and at the same time I have a lot of time, but I started out very young, so sometimes I'm like, man, I've been competing and thinking about doing this since I was like, what, 11, 12, so that's like 15 years already.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean, that's a long time. So sometimes I get like, have a lot of time, but I gotta make things work soon, you know what I mean, because I don't want to be waiting another like 10, 7, 8 years, to make things happen.
Yeah. And even if you have time, the mistake might be thinking you have time, right? Even if you do
Yeah,
have it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
you don't want to waste time.
I got time, but I also got that little sense of urgency. You know what I mean? That
Sure.
like, I want to be there, and I think that's healthy if you know how to balance. And I use that to motivate me and to help me push more towards what I want to be and my goals. So as long as in a health manner, in a health way, I think that can help. And I've been using this to help me out.
Definitely. We spoke about the future. Let's talk more so about the immediate future here as we wrap up the interview.
Mhm.
We can't control it, right? The future, but what would excite you as far as your next fight? Would it be nice to be back at LFA for another one, maybe an important fight? What are you thinking for your next fight? What would excite you?
Uh, I like to fight and all this stuff, but I'm coming off of 3 wins right now. Two knockouts, and also my last
The
LFA
first
fight.
one, by the way, was a sick knockout. Was it the calf
Yeah,
kick knockout?
yeah, the calf cake was the calf cake. It was like, got like 10 million views on Facebook
That's
by
crazy. Yeah,
best. And then I had this fight with Ryan. That was a great fight too. I think everybody liked the fight.
for sure.
And my record now is 8-2. I live in America. I speak English. I'm Brazilian, but I also have a green card. I'm young, so it seems to me like I'm a good deal for the major promotion. So right now, I'm kind of just leaving my management's hands to see whatever it comes. But I'm really aiming being the UFC this year. That's what I want. If it's through the Contender Series, great. If it's through like short notice, great as well. I'm here. I'm training. I never stop training. So that's what I'm aiming like for next step, and gotta wait a little bit more to see if like maybe go back to LFA or see what happens from there. What I know and what I can control, it's doing my best, keeping my diet on point, keeping my weight like low, and keep my body sharp, my mind sharp, my spirit sharp. So whatever it comes, as long as a good opportunity and makes sense for that point of my career that I'm at right now, I'm gonna take it.
I was gonna ask if you had any short-term goals, but that seems to be it, man. Right? You're dead set. You want to get to the UFC, right? Whether it takes you one more fight, two more fights. Is that accurate?
Yeah,
That's the
yeah, yeah.
short-term goal.
Yeah. As long as it makes your sense and pushes me towards where I want to be, I'm gonna do it. That's what I'm doing. I'm just not willing to do crazy stuff right now. You know what I mean? Stuff that doesn't make any sense. If I don't have a lot
Right.
of gain, like doesn't make sense to me right now. Risk everything for, you know what I mean? Stuff that not gonna take me anywhere. So that's what I'm thinking right now. I'm working hard and trying to be smart at the same time.
As far, obviously you don't want to take risks, and I'm sure a lot of that is looking at opponents saying maybe I need a little more time. But do you feel like, as you are right now, the talent that you have, since it is your goal, I'd like to ask, do you feel like you can take on UFC guys now? You feel like where we are right
Oh,
now, you get in there, you're
man,
good?
definitely. Not praising about myself, but sometimes I look at the fights especially in my weight division, guys with kind of same amount of fights. I go like, man, I can do good against those guys. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
not praising myself and and also not downgrading anybody's work, but
You're confident for
I have
sure.
pretty confident. Like I have a lot of confidence that I can do pretty good, and when I get in there, you know what I mean. So the future is in God's hands. So I'm trying to focus on like take each step, and then day by day, so I don't get anxious, and stress about it. But I know I can do pretty good. You know what I mean. I've been doing it for a while, and I have people around me there are more experienced than anybody else, and they tell me I can do pretty good. They tell me I'm ready. I also believe I'm ready, and I think I kind of showed a little bit on my last fight. Like Ryan's a great fighter with both of our records. Like I feel like that fight could happen maybe in the UFC. If like it was in the LFA, but that was a fight that maybe could have happened in UFC. You know what I mean? Like we had more fights than the main event guys that fought for the belt on our division. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why not? You know?
Why not? Listen, if anyone has anything to say to that, I dare you to go and watch his last fight. Tell me that he's not ready for the top level. I think you are, man. Anyway, Daniel, thanks for taking some time, with us today, man. Thanks for coming on the show. And of course, as we've been speaking about, I am excited to see what's in your future.
It was my pleasure, brother. Thank you very much, and I hope we can save that video and use in future when I'm in the UFC. We can talk about it. It will be my
There you
pleasure.
go, man. There you go. We will do that because you will
Will,
get
will,
there.
will.
Yes.
It was my pleasure. It was my pleasure. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.